In this tutorial, we're going to start the process of working through the Game Boy Developer Kit tutorial. And ideally, in the end, what we should end up with is a Game Boy game that we can actually run on the original hardware. To start with, what we're going to do is we're just going to start with the Hello World program. I'm just going to bring up today the first lesson. So what you should do to begin with is watch the person's video. It's going to be a little different because he's doing his development on a Windows computer. So I'm going to show you how to set it up on a Cloud9 instance instead. So watch his video first, and then when you're done, come on back here. So now that you're watched his video, what we're going to do is we're going to go to this GitHub repository that I created for you. And this repository has all the tools that you're going to need to create your Game Boy development kit and the instructions on how to do it. So the first thing you need is a Cloud9 instance. I just called mine Game Boy. Please remember to make it Ubuntu. And you can see I have mine right here. So this is a brand new instance, and I've done nothing with it so far. Next thing you need to do is load some dependencies. So we're just going to copy this code, and we're going to go back to our instance, and we're going to open up the terminal. And right in the root of the terminal, we're just going to paste in that command and hit run. So it's going to go off and it's going to go get a whole bunch of libraries and things that we need, and then it'll finish. Next thing we're going to do is run this command. So it's in a little window, so you got to make sure you have the whole thing. And we're just going to drop this in, and we're going to run that. So this is going to, once again, go and get this zipped up file that we need. We're now going to unzip that file, and we're actually going to remove the old zipped up file once it's uncompressed. So this unzips it, and then it deletes the zipped file because we no longer need that. So you can see it made the folder for us and then got rid of that zipped file. So now we're going to change directory and go into the Game Boy directory. So cd into the Game Boy directory. And then we're going to run this file or prompt called make. So you just type make and you press enter. So this is going to take a little while. It's going to go through and run a whole lot of commands. And what it's doing is it's downloading and making a C++ compiler that will let us compile for the Game Boy itself. So that's what this is doing. So we just got to pause and watch it go through this. Okay, now that's done, we're going to run sudo make install. And run that. Okay, so that's all the steps that we need to get our environment all set up and run. So you'll notice in the instructions to build a new game, you go to the .game folder. So I'm just going to open up this directory, and you'll notice that there's a folder called game. In here, that file right here is the Hello World program that we're going to run to make our Game Boy game. So to actually run that C file, to actually get the code that we need, we're going to run this command here. So it's going to take our game C file. Oops, sorry about that. It's going to run our C game file, and it's going to run it through this C++ compiler, and it's going to generate this game.gb file. So if we go back here, just like we do in class normally, we have to be in the directory where our C++ file is, or in this case our C file, and we're going to run the C++ compiler to create this file, and you should see the game.gb file show up over on the side. So there it is right there. So now that we have this file, you could take it and move it over to an actual physical Game Boy. But for our testing, what we're going to do is just run it in a web browser that actually has a Game Boy emulator. So if you go down to Web and you open up this index file and preview it, you will notice here, I'm just going to break this out into a different window. Here we actually have a Game Boy emulator running, and it has the Hello World program running in it right now. So you will notice that in this web, I'm just going to close this so we can see things better. In this web directory, there's also a folder called ROMs. And inside this folder game right here, game.gb, that's what's actually running right here in the web. So to put ours in, you just delete it and then copy our version and move it into the ROMs folder. And then you can just simply refresh this. Now, it's going to say the exact same thing because this was the program we wrote, Hello World. But to prove this works, we're going to change our game slightly. So I actually want it to say, hello, Mr. Coxell. So I'm going to go save. I'm going to go back and run the same command again. Before we run it, you should delete this because we're going to overwrite it. So we're going to just get rid of that. And for good measure, we're going to get rid of this one so that we know the one that we're making is really the one we're going to be looking at. So we're going to run this command again. There's the file that shows up. We're going to grab it, copy it, paste it to ROMs, and then refresh the website, and it should say, hello, Mr. Coxell. There you go. So that's how you use the Cloud 9 version of the Game Boy Developer Kit so that you can actually create your own Game Boy file and run it in the emulator. Another helpful hint to make it run in the emulator, if you go inspect, so I'm just alternate clicking and going to inspect. And if you click on this little icon right here, it'll toggle it and make it look more like a cell phone. And then if you refresh it, you'll actually get the controls when we need to actually make the controls and have something move around on the screen. So you can do that as an aid to make that happen.